Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. I am your host, Brian McFadden. It is Monday, October 3rd. We are into the fourth quarter of the year, the fourth quarter of 2022. We've got some Week 4 NFL Sunday action to talk about. And I've got a new guest, a recurring guest on Mondays. You see him on Wednesdays. You know him at NFL_stats on Twitter. Jimmy Ray joining me to recap every Monday and preview the Monday Night Football games. Jimmy, man, how you feeling?
Feeling good. How about you?
So as a Dolphins fan and a Colts fan, we each have our own reasons to not be as excited as we were last week for various reasons. Terrible what happened to Tua Tagovailoa. They've already ruled him out for next week. But beyond that, I just worry that he's okay as a person. So not as great being a Dolphins fan. How are you doing as a Colts fan?
Yeah, that Tua injury, right when that happened, I was like, oh gosh, because we all knew what happened what happened before, and there was already a lot of talk about it, and like, wow, he's playing tonight. But yeah, tough to see him. I hope he heals up soon. I'm glad sounds like he's doing a little better. As a Colts fan, I've just given up at this point. I don't know what's happening.
Week
really
4, throw in the towel. You're done.
Listen, I'll be a glass half full kind of guy by the time game day comes around on Thursday against the Broncos, but at this point, it's like this is a make or break season for a lot of the coaching staff for the Colts. So I'm very interested to see what happens. It's just been up and down, but a lot of seasons start like this. So obviously, nothing's going to change until towards the end of the season because we still have 13 games left to play. Anything can really happen.
Anything can happen. This was a weekend of injuries. Unfortunately, a lot of major injuries going on. We will get to that. We're going to recap every single game from yesterday, from London all the way up to Sunday Night Football, and then we're going to finish up previewing the game tonight, NFC West showdown between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. So on that note, no more back talk. Let's just jump into it. 30 minutes of football with Legit Football starts now. So as I do every week, I am going to share my picks as I do on Twitter. We're going to recap what went right, what didn't go right as far as our predictions, and talk about each game. We will start in that London game where the Minnesota Vikings played actually a fantastic game. I feel good for the London fans to have seen like a good matchup that came down to like a field goal fest at the end with a double doink going in the wrong direction, losing it for the Saints. Minnesota does win 28-25, covers the 2.5. So good start on the picks for that one. Quick thoughts on the London game.
Yeah, I can never tell what to make of the Vikings. I feel like they're really up and down, and getting a close win against banged up Saints offense isn't really something that brings me up or down on them. It's just, Kirk Cousins and their offense and defense, but as a whole, it was a very good game for London. So that was exciting to see. And that double doink at the end, man, I could watch that a million times. I just don't understand how close it was. And he hit a 60-yarder right before. It was tough to watch.
So I have a couple takeaways from this. One, the Vikings are this close to be the 3-1, but they could very easily be 1-3. I like that you mentioned at the start, you don't really know what to make of this Vikings team. It's interesting. That's always kind of been the Vikings' MO, right? Even under Zimmer, it was like, are they good? They're always kind of good enough to hang around. Enter Kevin O'Connell, brand new offense, brand new coaching staff, new vibe. We thought we saw a whole new team in week 1 against the Packers, but no, it turns out it's the same old Vikings. A couple on the New Orleans side, I don't know about you. Andy Dalton wasn't amazing, but I thought this game would not have been as close if Jameis was playing quarterback. I think he would have made crucial mistakes as he has been doing. He would have turned the ball over, whereas Dalton at least was able to move the offense some. I thought the offense at least looked more balanced and more safe than it has under Jameis Winston. Do you think they should stick with Andy going forward, even if Jameis is healthy?
Honestly, they're very different quarterbacks. I wouldn't say it really matters too much because I feel like they're just not going to win a lot of games this season. And I think Jameis Winston, I mean, he does make a lot of mistakes, but at the end of the day, he makes some big plays as well, and that kind of goes with his 30 touchdown, 30 interception season he had.
Yeah, and
at
that
one
season,
point.
the Bucs ended
Yeah.
with a losing record.
Right.
So that's the thing. The 33 touchdowns, if you also throw 30 picks, the weight of each of those turnovers is actually greater than the touchdowns. I thought this, I mean, they had only scored one touchdown over the first 3 quarters, over the first 3 games prior to this game. Andy Dalton literally scored more in the first 3 quarters than Jameis had been able to do. So if I'm a Saints fan, the defense still looked good. The pass rush looked good against Minnesota. I'd rather a little bit safer offense, get the ball to your playmakers, and I think that's more of a winning record. But that being said, Saints are in a hole at 1-3. Tough road ahead of them. Minnesota looking good at 3-1. Let's go ahead to Los Angeles Chargers hosting Houston Texans, a game that ended up 34-24. LA was very much in charge. Houston did manage to claw back into it a little bit. Justin Herbert looked much better in this game as opposed to the week before where he really looked injured against the Jaguars. 4.5 points was the spread. They won by 10, easily covered. Thoughts on this game?
Yeah, the score says it's close, but it really wasn't too close. Eckler had 3 touchdowns that game. Yep. Mike Williams showed up. Justin Herbert, he's one of 2 quarterbacks now who has at least 300 passing yards in 7 straight road games, other being Rich Gannon. So, I mean, their offense was rolling that day, but Dameon Pierce, he had a great breakout game. His hype from the preseason that everybody was excited about, that kind of came out in this game. So that was exciting to see for a team that doesn't have too much hope this season. But I saw
a stat that was I think it was 77 yards over expected. It's the most by a Texans running back since Lamar Miller in like 2018 or something like that.
Jeez.
So good news. I mean, if you're a Texans fan, you got to find whatever little tidbits of hope you can. And it looks like they did get a good, solid running back of the future in 4th rounder in Dameon Pierce. I'd like to see him win over 100 yards for the first time in his career. Let's keep on rolling. Like you said, the Chargers game wasn't that close. Let's go to a game that was a little bit closer, but it was... were we watching football from 1982? So even the uniforms, you had the New York Giants hosting the Chicago Bears, pulled away 20-12. At one point, the Giants lost both of their starting quarterbacks. Daniel Jones went out, then Tyrod Taylor had a concussion. Jones had to go back out there as like a decoy while they were running like almost like a wildcat offense. But the Giants found a way to win at the end of the day. Chicago, once again, wasn't really able to move the ball. At least we saw a little bit of Darnell Mooney action. But this Bears team is just struggling. They're at a lack of talent on both sides of the ball. They have some young pieces on the defense, but this offense can't protect Justin Fields. Fields still, I think I saw a stat too, might have been you that put it up, that he has as many rushing attempts as passing completions. Passing completions.
Yep. Yeah, I did.
That's insane.
It's 34 rushing attempts, 34 pass completions. I mean, I don't know if they just don't trust him. They can't design anything for him. If it's just the offense around him, they can't figure out a way to get him to throw the ball to his playmakers. But it's very tough to see. And I bet the under on this game for good reason, even though the under was like at 38.5. These teams were not going to put up a lot of points. And it was crazy to see Saquon in the Wildcat with Daniel Jones. For some reason, they put Daniel Jones back in out wide during the Wildcat formations. I'm not sure why exactly, but it just,
he's not fooling anybody.
He's just gonna kind of stand there. I guess it was just kind of the play they drew up, so they just kind of went with it. Had to put a QB out there, but 3-1 Giants. So
I did pick the Giants to win this game. I just thought it would be by 3 or less. Which is why I missed this against the spread. In my straight money line picks, though, I got I'm at 12-3, so I got 12 of the actual wins right. The spread. Sitting at 7-8 right now. Hopefully 49ers cover. I can finish, keep my 500 streak alive. Let's go to the shootout of the week. I don't know if anybody saw this coming to this degree. I also think I saw this was the first ever 48-45 game in the history of the NFL.
Yep, 1,073rd scoregami.
Unique score. Unique score. It's crazy that we still see these unique scores, and the NFL's been around for 100 years. Seattle Seahawks. This was my 16 confidence. I was so confident, even without Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift, that this Lions team would be able to handle a Seattle team that, it was okay on offense, but their defense had been bad. I just thought that the Lions had been a little bit better in all aspects of the game, but maybe we underestimated how bad this Lions defense is. Seattle covers and gets the victory 48-45. This was just back and forth. Geno's just playing some of the best football of all the quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Quick thoughts on this game.
I mean, Geno Smith, Jared Goff, they're the two fantasy quarterbacks everybody wanted before the season.
Yeah, clearly.
And obviously, I mean, I have Jared Goff in a league. It wasn't by design, but I ended up with him, and thank God I have him. But overall, I mean, the Lions, they're scoring so many points, and they are letting up so many points. I mean, I think last week on Wednesday, I told you if you're going to bet the over, you got to bet the over on the Lions game because their defense, the points are going to be scored. And I did take the took the Seahawks spread here. Won some money there. So I don't know what exactly led me to believe they could win. I just was kind of low on the Lions. They haven't been able to pull out a win, even though they score points. They have 140 points scored this year so far, 141 against.
That's insane.
And they're 1-3. So
yeah, they
won big, and then they've been losing very close. So it's tough. But shout out Geno Smith, who's been definitely outplaying what he was expected to do.
Outplaying Russell Wilson, the quarterback he replaced. I love that as a storyline. Let's keep on rolling. Jacksonville Jaguars. This is one of the games I was most excited to see against the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia wins and covers, winning 29-21 at home. Before I give my thoughts, your quick thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Jaguars went up 14-0, and I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And then the Eagles just were like, never mind. Let's just go crazy. And Trevor Lawrence had 5 turnovers, 4 fumbles, which is insane. I mean, Jaguars just lost to a better team, but I don't take away anything from the Jaguars. Eagles are 4-0, so
this is one of the games that I watch the closest. I watch every single game in some capacity, but there are certain games that I'm focused on, games that I'm excited to watch or that I feel like I want to learn more. I wanted to learn more about this Jags team, and I want to continue to learn about the Eagles, who are now the only undefeated team left in the NFL. And I came out thinking that the Jags really are a decent team. Their defense actually played well. You don't really see that there, but they were able to slow down the pass game. They just got gouged on the ground. Miles Sanders had, I think, 145 yards. And just watching, like every time he got the ball, it was just chunk run after chunk run. It was not a bunch of big plays. It was just every time he got it, he was getting 4, 5, 6 yards a pop. The Philadelphia defense is absolutely for real. They were able to blanket the Jaguars receivers as well as get pressure on Lawrence, on top of the fact that it was a bad weather game, so the ball was slippery. Lawrence actually had a couple times where he just flat out dropped one of the fumbles. He just was scrambling, out to his right, and the ball just slipped out of his hands. But the Eagles were able to get a pass rush. Jags were able to get a pass rush too. I'll say that's one of the reasons the pass game of the Eagles wasn't as good. But this Eagles team is for real. They don't have a lot of weaknesses. When their pass game is shut down, they can beat you on the run. Their defense is able to they're one of the best pressure defenses in the NFL, and they've got such amazing coverage on the back end with Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. There's just so much to like about this. They're undefeated for a reason. Clearly, I think they're going to sit at top of our power rankings. Let's go ahead and move on to the we'll do New York Jets. Don't want to skip the Jets. The Jets won. Here I am just looking. Pro Football Demon would be very upset right now. Yeah. New York Jets, I picked them to cover because I didn't think the Steelers' offense would be good enough to win by 4 points or more. Not only did the Jets cover, they also won this game. We saw Zach Wilson in his first start of 2022, pretty much rough first 3 quarters, but came and made plays and able to drive the offense when it mattered most. But the big story here is Kenny Pickett time in Pittsburgh. Yep.
Yeah, Jets, shout out to Zach Wilson for coming back and playing a good fourth quarter. But other than that, it was just kind of a game that probably not a lot of people watched. And until Kenny Pickett came in, people were like, oh, time to tune in a little bit and see what he can do. He threw 3 picks, 10 completions. The interesting thing was he was 10 for 13. He had 3 picks, so none of them hit the ground, which was apparently the most passes without any of them hitting the ground. So any incompletions technically. So, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns, so he got in the end zone a couple times, and that's kind of what they were looking for. So, I mean, rookie quarterbacks are going to throw up picks; it's just going to happen.
One of those was a 50-50 ball. One of them was a Hail Mary. So it's not like
Yeah,
he came in and was just like, he played tough. I'll say that. He definitely gave the offense a spark. And they still ended up losing, but at least the offense looked better. We've already seen the reports that it's looking like the keys to the car are going to be Pickett's for the rest of the season. I think that's the smart move. George Pickens, which is with his first 100-yard receiving game of the year, Pickett came in and immediately had chemistry with him, and that's a talent you want to utilize. I'm personally excited that Pickett is a quarterback. I'm slightly more interested in this Pittsburgh team now. Are you in agreement here?
yes, of course. Yeah, it was. I was expecting it to happen at some point. It was just a matter of when, not if.
All right, let's go to the Cleveland Browns taking on the frisky and really fun Atlanta Falcons. In Atlanta, the Falcons not only covered, but won this game on the back of a very, very dominant run offense from two rookies. Cordell Patterson did score a touchdown early, but left the game. We now know is because he's went on injured reserve, will be out for at least 4 games. But Tyler Algier, Caleb Huntley came in, and both looked dominant. And the Cleveland Browns just weren't able to capitalize. Their offense isn't really built to come from behind. So while Nick Chubb still looked great, the Atlanta jumped out to a 10-0 lead in this game. And Jacoby Brissett is really not built to come back. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better, really. The Falcons had a lot of open rushing lanes that kind of just took them away, and it was a close overall game. But shout out Caleb Huntley, Ball State University, where I'm an alumni from. So it was pretty cool to see him get a touchdown there. But yeah, their rushing attack was on point. The Falcons offense keeps scoring over 20 points. So it's interesting to see the Falcons getting some wins before the season. I didn't think they'd get this many.
Yeah, I've been big on the Falcons, not as a playoff team, but a team that was better than a lot of people think, mainly because I believe in Arthur Smith. And I think we're seeing that because Kyle Pitts didn't do anything. He's right back to being irrelevant in the offense. And Drake London didn't do anything. Yeah. And they still found a way to beat a team in the Cleveland Browns that going into this game had a 2-1 record. So that shows me that this is a coach who can get more from his team than the sum of their parts. I'm really excited to watch the Falcons going forward. I still think they should get Kyle Pitts more involved. Any last thoughts? We got about 20 seconds before halftime on this game or the Falcons in particular.
Nope, that's it for me.
So let's just sit in silence for 15 seconds. No, I'm just kidding. No, I've liked this Atlanta team. I think they're frisky. They're actually tied for first in the NFC South with the Bucs. Let's not forget that, Falcons fans. At least after week 4, you're in first place in your division. Who would have thought it? That chime means it's halftime. We'll run through this quickly. LegitFootball.com, guys. If you're not already signed up, all your NFL news in 5 minutes or less. We condense it. We find the top stories. We break it down for you, tell you what you need to know, and you don't have to search for it. We deliver it to you in your inbox 5 days a week, all year long. LegitFootball.com. Enter your email address. It's that simple. It's always free. Jimmy, give yourself a shout out on Twitter.
Yep, at NFL_stats. Go follow it. I post stats from everywhere all the time. Stats, news, information, memes, fun stuff, just anything football related, really. That's just where you should go for it.
That's it.
Yep.
We're done. This is going to be the quickest halftime ever. We're going to get right back into it because we do have a Monday Night Football game to get to, which, by the way, I'll take this moment also to say that if you don't know, Jimmy and I have been doing a Twitter Spaces for the first half of these Monday Night Football games. It's our own Manning cast. I don't like that Twitter Space doesn't give the listeners a chance to chat or any of that, but if you just want to listen to the two of us just talk about the game, please, by all means, Jimmy has already scheduled it. You'll see if you're a follower, so go ahead and follow at NFL_stats and at _legitfootball. Once he goes live on Twitter Spaces, you'll get a notification. Come and listen to us goof around talking about the 49ers and Rams. All right, let's go ahead and get the second half started. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the picks again. I'm going to let you do. I'm just going to say the score, and let's hear your thoughts about this game. Your Colts, fresh off a victory over the Kansas City Chiefs, their first win of the year, traveling to Tennessee. Oh no, it was in Indianapolis, at home in Indianapolis, welcoming Tennessee Titans. Battle for the AFC South at this point, and the Titans take it 24-17. The Titans were in control and had the lead the entire game. Your thoughts?
Yep, Colts came out to another very slow start like they always do. It's very unfortunate. Matt Ryan has 10 fumbles this season, which is also unfortunate. That kind of tells a big story of the offensive line not helping him not being able to move in the pocket, just him not being able to brace for the sacks. He's 37 years old, so it's very tough to kind of see him get sacked like that and him lose the ball almost every single time. And if those didn't happen, who's to say we couldn't have had a really good game, especially with our second half performance where we held them to a very low amount of points. It was just, it looked pretty close. It was, and I had some hope at the end, but it was very unfortunate. And then Shaq Leonard got a concussion at the end of the game, so he's going to be out again. Jonathan Taylor's banged up now. I mean, it's just not looking good. 1-2-1 now. So it's just...
And Jonathan Taylor, I saw this stat, has his last 2 games have been his worst yards per carry average of his career. The last 2 games. That is, to me, not a reflection of his talent as much as maybe partial injury, but I think that offensive line, that is what something that's always been a strength for Indianapolis. Right now, it's kind of a liability. How do you feel about that offensive line? Is it something that can be fixed, or is this going to be a problem all year for Indy?
I mean, it seems like a lot of communication issues. I mean, it starts with Quentin Nelson not exactly playing to his all-pro potential. Ryan Kelly's not playing well. We can't figure out the left tackle, right guard position. I mean, it's just very unfortunate to watch. And then the running backs and wide receivers, sometimes they don't pick up their assignments like they're supposed to. It's just very hard to see something that's been good ever since Luck's last season when he only got sacked a few times. And then he retired. And then from then on out, we had a good offensive line, a good bolster, and that kind of is what brought some of the QBs our way. But at this point, it's been tough. And when you're kind of relying on supposed to be good at the running game with a 37-year-old quarterback, it's just Matt Ryan can't hold it all for them. I mean, he had a pretty good game, all things considered. People kind of throw him under the bus a little bit, but it's hard when you don't have a rushing game. Your defense is on the field for so long, and then they score points. So it's just tough.
One last thing I want to mention this before we get to the next game. Sooner or later, we're going to be on coach hot seat watch, and to monitor some of the coaches that are going to be perhaps fired before the season ends. Frank Reich right now would be on that list if we were starting that. Do you disagree?
I do not disagree. And also shout out to the Titans. They did have a good game. Jeffrey Simmons was just destroying our offensive line the entire game. And Derrick Henry's running through our defense. So, I mean, it's people just running through our entire team. And it's tough. It's tough when don't have a win in the past 4 games against the AFC South when the AFC South isn't supposed to be like a juggernaut division.
Still wide open. That's the one little nugget.
Yep,
that's still plenty of time left. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the NFC East. Dallas Cowboys. Cooper Rush sets a Cowboys record for the first quarterback for Dallas to start his first 4 games 4-0. Easily took Washington in all aspects of the game. CeeDee Lamb is finally starting to actually show up as a number 1 receiver. The run game was at least solid, but this defense, that's the story. This defense, I think I saw that it was one of the best starts, if not the best start as far as points allowed over the first 4 weeks of the season in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if you posted that stat or I saw it somewhere else, but they win 25-10. They controlled this game over the Commanders. They only sacked Wentz twice, but they pressured him on something like 40% of his back on his dropbacks. So this was absolutely Trevon Diggs had another interception. Everything was working for this Dan Quinn-led defense. Your thoughts? Yeah,
seems like somebody always steps up for the Cowboys, and they're doing really good. And I'm excited to see Dak come back. I think people are arguing about who should be the starting quarterback, but I think Dak will be. It's just kind of heat of the moment right now, but I think Dak will come back and hopefully bring even more to the offense and show people that they might actually be good contenders, especially with that good of a defense and so many playmakers on that side of the ball.
I say at the very least, Cooper Rush is making himself some money right now. Either
he is.
to get a nice contract as a backup, or some really quarterback hungry team, may give him a shot, sometime next year, just as like a bridge situation. But hey, for now, Cooper Rush, you're the man. You're undefeated in 4 starts for the Cowboys. Keep it going. Dallas tied now with the New York Giants. Actually, I guess they beat them head-to-head, so technically they would have the edge if the season ended now. A team that a lot of people started writing off. Good start to the year. Looks like Dak has an outside shot to come back next week. We'll monitor that. We don't know that yet. Let's go to the game I was probably the most excited to watch this week. Did live up to the billing in a little bit different way than I thought it would. Buffalo Bills ended up beating the Baltimore Ravens 23-20. They started the game down 20-3. This is the first time, I think he was previously 0-7, the first time that the Josh Allen-led Bills had come down from that big of a deficit. So a great sign of things to come for this year. They haven't been able to come back and make these kind of come from behind victories in their past seasons. They were able to really shut down the pass game for Lamar and the Ravens. Your 2 cents on this game?
Yeah, it was kind of a tale of two halves, and you just don't see the Josh Allen-led Bills get down that much. It's probably a bigger reason of why you see that kind of stat. But as a whole, I mean, the Ravens were one team in the first half. People were like, oh, the Ravens are looking very good. Their defense is looking a lot better. They're making moves on offense, and they're just shutting down the Bills. But then the second half came along, and they lost another close game and lost another comeback. So it was interesting. Plus that fourth and goal call towards the end of the game where they didn't go for it. It seems like that's what the Ravens do, and I'm not very surprised. They just kind of went for it, and they didn't trust their defense at that time, especially when the Bills were scoring the second half. So, I mean, I don't usually love calls like that, but I understand it. So,
I picked the Bills. I picked them to cover and win. They won by 3. Had they actually scored a touchdown on the last drive instead of kneeling it and then kicking the field goal, I would have covered. But I don't blame them for doing that. It was the smart thing to do. We all saw what happened to the Browns when Nick Chubb went in too early. So, yeah, the Bills, I think this actually is great to see that they can overcome that kind of adversity, to be able to show that when you're down 17, because the first 2 games, they just dominated. Like, they didn't really have any adversity at all. They faced a little against the Dolphins and couldn't quite come back. This against a very good Ravens team. I think it says a lot about the Bills. They're still my Super Bowl favorite. Let's go to teams that are as far away from Super Bowl favorites as you can get. The Arizona Cardinals traveling to the Carolina Panthers. I said on Friday's show that I was very surprised that Carolina was favored in this. Carolina was at home, sure, coming off their first victory of the year against the Saints, and they were 1.5 favorites. I just thought anybody who's watching football, Arizona has its own problems, and these 2 offenses were dreadful in the first half. I think there were only 6 points scored on offense because the one touchdown the Panthers had was on the defensive touchdown. But Arizona, still at the end of the day, they had more playmakers. Hollywood Brown had a great game. Kyler Murray made plays when they needed to. And the Arizona defense stepped up. But this Panthers team, they might be flirting with number 32 again in our power rankings on Wednesday. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with that. They were 32, I think, at the beginning of the season. I think they might go back down to that. If Sam Darnold wasn't injured, he'd probably have played a little bit already. He probably would be considered the starting quarterback for the next game. I mean, their offense just can't get anything going, and it's very weird to see Christian McCaffrey not get too much going even when he's not injured. But yeah, the Cardinals, I mean, Kyler Murray always has a chance to make plays when he's running around with his video game skill that everybody's calling it now. But yeah, Cardinals pull out the win. I was surprised too that they weren't favored. The Cardinals weren't favored. That's why I put some money on them. And obviously they won. So
yeah, this was my third most confident pick here, was that Arizona was going to win that game, and they do pull out the victory 26-16. I believe the Cardinals had 7 batted passes of Sam Darnold. One of those turned into an interception that was kind of the game sealer late in the game. But Baker Mayfield's playing absolutely the worst football of his life. And you're right, Sam Darnold, who they mentioned was eligible to come off IR, but they said he's not close, and he's at least a few more weeks away. Matt Rule has got to be at the top of that list of coaches on the hot seat. Let's go to AFC West. Las Vegas Raiders hosting the Denver Broncos, looking for their first victory, and they get it. 32-23. Got it with the ground game. Josh Jacobs with, I believe, a career high, almost 150 yards rushing, kind of like Miles Sanders for the Eagles. Just looked like every time he got the ball, he was tearing off chunk runs, just 3, 4, 5 yards every time he gets the ball, wearing down that Broncos defense. The Broncos offense looked, I mean, they only scored 23 points, and so this isn't going to sound good, but they looked better than they had the first 3 weeks. It looked a little bit more like what we were hoping to see. Jerry Jeudy making some plays, Cortland Sutton with a touchdown. But the big loss, Javonte Williams, now out for the year, tore his ACL, MCL, tore like everything. Melvin Gordon fumbled for, I think, like the fourth or fifth time already this year. Things are not looking good in Denver right now.
Yeah, I kind of related to the Colts situation. They had a lot of hype coming into the season, and now they've kind of been lackluster. I mean, that division is so open right now with the top teams being 2-2, and now the Raiders have a win. So we go from thinking they're probably a bottom team with no wins to, hey, they beat a division rival, so now they have a good chance. And shout out to Josh Jacobs. You love seeing that whenever he gets a chance to do something like that. But it's just the story here is definitely the Broncos continuing to be a disappointment, and now we'll have the two kind of disappointing stories facing each other on Thursday.
That's right. Yeah. One quick note on that: when Prime was doing the advertisement for the Colts Broncos game, they said two high-powered offenses. Like, whoa, no, come on, Amazon Prime. I know you're new to this, but
they also put Jonathan Taylor number 28 and Russell Wilson number three on the graphic, 28-3. So Matt Ryan can't stay away from that. But talking about the Broncos, so.
But I would say poor Falcons fans, but they're coming off a win. They're. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
them
they're over that right now.
They're over that. Good for you.
Yeah.
Green Bay Packers. We got to see the first rookie quarterback pass touchdown of the year. Anybody who put money on Bailey Zappi being the first one to throw that touchdown, congratulations. You probably made a lot of money, but I'm guessing there's not too many of you. The Packers did win 27-24. They didn't cover. I was iffy on this 10.5 point spread. With Brian Hoyer, maybe they cover that, but Bailey Zappi came in and actually ran the offense fairly well, made some mistakes, but had a great touchdown to Devontae Parker, where he just waited, and apparently it was like past the play clock. Play shouldn't even have counted, but the pass was nice. The New England defense played well. They really kind of flustered Rodgers in that first half, but then things settled down. Romeo Doubs caught his second touchdown of the year. Alan Lazard got involved, and the talent of Green Bay really won out.
Yeah, the Packers seem to be finding their kind of style with the new Devontae Adams-less offense. But if you would have saw that Bailey Zapp was in there, you would have thought it was going to be a bigger blowout than that. But as a whole, I mean, he stood his ground, like you said, but the Packers came away with the win, and now they are tied for the most wins by a franchise in NFL history. So.
With the Bears, and something tells me we're not going on a limb by saying the Packers are going to take that record pretty soon with how bad Chicago looks.
Yeah, eventually.
Let's go to the last game, and then we'll leave about a minute or so to preview Monday Night Football. This game is very straightforward. Sunday Night Football, Kansas City Chiefs absolutely dominating the Tampa Bay Bucks from start to finish, 41-31. This is another game that, yes, it was 10 points, but the game was never in doubt. Kansas City was in absolute control from the opening kickoff that was fumbled by White to the second offensive play of the game where Mahomes connects with Kelsey to put them up 7-0, and they never lost the lead after that. We saw a classic Mahomes flick the ball touchdown to Clyde Edwards-Helaire at some point. This Kansas City offense firing on all cylinders. The offensive line looked great. The run game looked really strong against a normally stout Bucs defense. Quick thoughts on this?
I wish we could watch Mahomes and Brady play each other every night like that, honestly. But I think it was kind of a tale of a different story for the Bucs this game, with their defense letting up a bunch of points, which obviously you're playing the Chiefs, so that's going to happen when you're playing Mahomes. But Brady also showed some life. He had some pretty good throws, and I think I saw a stat. He was the first quarterback in history to have 75% completion, 350 plus yards, 0 interceptions, and still lose the game by double digits, which is insane to think about. That's one of those very specific stats. But if you look kind of deeper within it, then you can kind of see that he was playing a great game and threw some couple touchdowns to Mike Evans, which they have 30 touchdowns in 35 games now, which is nice. But yeah, the Chiefs played better, and they have a solid defense, and then their offense is just outstanding, and they're going to be obviously one of the teams to beat in the AFC.
Yep, agreed. Anthony, we're obviously going to go into a little bit of overtime here because we do still have to preview the Monday Night Football game. So let's go ahead and bring up that graphic here. NFC West showdown, LA Rams coming to Santa Clara to take on the San Francisco 49ers at Levi's Stadium. I was at this Monday Night Football game last year when the 49ers absolutely dominated the Rams 31-10. That was the game Deebo Samuel had a couple touchdowns. It was the first game for Odell Beckham Jr., but he didn't really get in. Stafford threw some interceptions, looking like classic Stafford. I like that Anthony gave us a 1-minute timer here. So your quick thoughts and predictions for Rams at Niners. 49ers actually favored by 2.5, even though they're coming off a bad loss to the Broncos. What's your prediction here?
Yeah, I'll take the Rams at that spread. I'll take the money line on the Rams. I think the Rams are going to win tonight. I know the 49ers defense is pretty good. They're one of two teams to not let up 20 points in a game yet, but I think that ends tonight. The other team being the Cowboys, obviously. We know how good their defense is. But I think it'll be tale of the 49ers can't put up enough points, and the Rams put up enough points, even if it's close to 20. I think maybe like 20-13 might be the score of tonight's game. Rams winning.
Jimmy G is a roller coaster. He was down last week. I'm going to say he's up this week. Shanahan owns McVay, and I think we're going to see something closer to the 31-10. Maybe not that big of a discrepancy, but I am picking the 49ers to win and to cover at home on Monday Night Football. That is it. The game itself starts in about 10 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Like I said, guys, if you want to keep hearing us two goofballs talk about the game, go on over to Twitter Spaces, follow at NFL_stats and at _legitfootball. Jimmy on NFL Stats will start the Twitter Spaces. For the first half, we're just going to talk about what we see on the game and see which one of us is correct in our predictions. Jimmy, thanks for joining me. As always, you're going to be with me every Monday, recapping all the action, previewing Monday Night Football. Any last words?
Come join us.
That sounded ominous. Any last words?
Come watch some Monday Night Football with us. Let's see the Rams take a win against the 49ers.
And let's see the 49ers, for my sake, because I got to finish 8-8. Haven't had a losing record against the spread yet this week. So I'll be cheering for the hometown San Francisco 49ers. Guys, thank you for watching and listening. Enjoy the game tonight. This has been 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. We'll see you tomorrow. That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner.